I'm sure Nebraska feels like us. They're desperate for a win, but I've never seen the league. I saw a couple of teams in a couple of the leagues. I think it was Notre Dame's got 3 games left against top 25 teams, and none of them above 18. So every league's different. There's no question this league's the best it's been in 100 years, and we did not play well enough to win. Watching Nebraska last night, they looked a little bit like us at Minnesota. They just couldn't make a shot. That's not how they've been playing. So, we feel that we had 2 really good days of practice, one where we went 1 where we went 2. I think we've gotten a lot done. I think players understand where they are, and yet nobody tried to miss a shot. Nebraska's challenging because they have great length. They sometimes play as 6'9" point guard in Banton. They've got a bunch of transfers, but they're transfers that, like Allen, who played at West Virginia, uh, Banton was at Western Kentucky, McCollins was at Pittsburgh. I mean, these people came from very good programs, very well coached, and they're all very, very good players. Last night, like I said, they shot it poorly, and I've seen them shoot it very well. So, yeah, are we a little shaken? Probably. Are we lost a little confidence? Probably. We think we're going to do some things to get back on track, and that's kind of the way we've practiced. I have been pleased with practice, and we'll see if we can take that to the game. Questions?
We'll go first to Kyle Austin from MLive.
Hey, Tom, wondering of the Rocket, if you can say what you kind of envision for his role going forward, the kind of the point guard, shooting guard split, and how that might affect the rest of the rotation there.
Well, take it any way you want. I really don't give a damn as far as excuses, not excuses. But, we're going to try to make Rocket play more of the point, because it was what I needed done, which was very unfair to him. And then when the time when you get better at that is spring, summer, and fall, the exhibition games, the other games. It is a big excuse, but we're asking a guy to change in a lot of ways, and some things he did very well and some things he didn't do as well. But I don't feel like, number one, he got any practice time at it, any time to readjust and learn it. Number two, I do think it was selfish on my part. It was somewhat of a necessity in some ways. We had AJ out with the knee injury and missing those 2-3 weeks. And Foster's done a good job, and what we think his role will be on this team. But I kind of force-fed Rocket. And as I said, he did some real good things, and he did some things that weren't quite as good at that position. I still envision him playing more 2. I envision him playing a lot more 2 now, because I want to get him there. When I said, it's not really what he wanted to do, that's not a negative. I got a lot of guys, Draymond didn't want to play the 4, and then all of a sudden he wanted no part of the 3. It's just the way it works. And this position is critical. And I think the lack of opportunity to play it, learn it, study it, and then play it in those exhibition games, and maybe 5 other games of against not quite as higher caliber teams as top 20 teams, would have really helped Rock learn it easier. But we weren't able to do it this year. So I've got to adjust accordingly. I'm going to try to play him more at the 2. But someday he's going to be back playing some point. I really believe that. And when the process works to our favor. So he's had a couple of great days of practice. And I think what it's done is it's made him come in and work on his shooting even more. And so, sometimes it's players' fault on things. Sometimes it's coaches. And one thing that they'll tell you is, don't try to put a round peg in a square hole. And I kind of force-fed that on a necessity because of number 1, injury, and number 2, lack of time to prepare. But we're trying to make some adjustments to that now. I think he'll get more comfortable in what he's doing, and it'll help us a little bit more.
Next question's from Chris Solari.
Hey, Tom, Happy New Year. Wondered, first of all, how's Marcus's ankle? I saw he had kind of dinged that a little bit, and I wondered how much that affected how much you got to play him in that game.
Yeah, he did. He did ding it a little bit, and Marcus has been an enigma for me. I'm not going to make any bones about it. Yesterday, we made him Banton, who's a 6'9" point guard. And Marcus, played well inside, outside. He made some great passes. If I gave you my truest opinion of Marcus, basketball just has to become important 24/7. And it's got to be important every day. And the highs and lows of not gaining weight, there's just got to be a commitment. But in fairness to Marcus, this was a bad summer to have to take that big jump when he had no real structure because of our inability to be around 4 or 5 of the months once the season ended. And I think that hurt too. But I have been pretty impressed that I think he is committed to wanting to get it done. Magic once told me every player wants to be great. Most players don't know how to be great. And I think as he matures, which I've said it publicly, I said it to him. So, he's still immature in some ways, but I got to adjust too. And we've had a lot of long meetings, and, I still think we need Marcus. I still think he can do some things. I still think he can help us win games. It's just got to be everything on a more consistent level. And number one, strength and conditioning has been a big factor in why he doesn't play as many minutes. Now, the injury, that was true. Did hurt his ankle. Didn't seem to be any problem yesterday. And, we keep trying to work Julius in. He's gone through some tough times too. Christmas wasn't nearly the best time for him, as we all can imagine. And we did play Monty more, and I said we would be after Christmas, and we did do that. And I think he does give us some things from a strength and rebounding standpoint and a running standpoint that's going to help us. So not giving up on anybody yet. Actually was more encouraged by Markey yesterday and the day before and after a couple meetings. But, I can't make it. It's got to be important all the time. And I can't make somebody the old, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make them drink. And so we're going to see how it goes. But I was encouraged by this last couple of days.
We'll go next to Lindsey Huddleston.
Hey, Tom, your comment about needing an alpha dog kind of made the rounds. The Big Ten Network mentioned that in some of the bullet points for preparing for Nebraska. I'm just curious, in the last practice, have you seen any candidates, or do you see yourself stepping into that role yourself, as you alluded to the last time you talked to us?
Lindsey, you're not going to all of a sudden make a guy a point guard that hasn't been a point guard. You're probably not going to make a guy a leader. A lot of people say leaders are born, not made. I just don't think there's as many being born. So I think we got to make them a little bit better. And what does that mean? Of course, it's not when they're born. It's just we have such a soft society right now, and they want to keep making it softer. If you ask me, let a kid do whatever he wants. And so when they're in elementary school, junior high school, I'm sure of all people, you deal with this a lot. People aren't programmed to be the alpha dog, we give trophies for 37th place. That's what our people want to do now. So how do you become an alpha dog if you're always satisfied for what you've done? So that's not going to change overnight. I still think the Joshes and Aarons have to take on some of that, but I think some of it's going to have to fall on me too. And that's the round peg in a square hole again. I'm going to have to, I understand what's needed. I don't get to play, but that's why I've been having more meetings, more talks, more things. And I think I got to do a better job myself. So I'm going to turn it more on myself. It's not my fault that our society is soft. Okay, it's not my fault that you're not allowed to demand something of an eighth grader or a junior in high school because somebody's upset about it. But guess what? It's not their fault either. It's the adult's fault in the long run. I'm the adult. I need to take that on myself and see if I can help, because as you can imagine, you have everybody's attention now. And no, so everybody knows, these weren't knocked down, dragged down. In fact, one day we just had a film session and didn't practice. A little different for me after a loss, but I felt the right thing to do. I thought they needed some rest mentally and physically. And I'm learning as we go this year too. You can say, well, I've got all this experience. Nobody has experience of a pandemic or what it's doing. And so I don't feel as bad as everybody feels mad, because I think I understand some of the circumstances, but I don't feel as good as just to be able to say, hey, we lost 3 games. That's the way it goes. I listen to some people tell me, well, we haven't lost 3 games in a row ever. We just did it last year. You just don't realize it. And it wasn't against 3 top 20 teams. You don't realize that. And it wasn't during a pandemic where you had no spring, summer, or fall. But everybody is in the same boat. It's just everybody handles these situations differently. And I'd say that I'm blaming the adults and society. I'm an adult and I'm part of the society. So I better look in a mirror and take some of the responsibility, which I am doing, and seeing if I can help guys through some things. We made no bones about, we lack a little leadership. That doesn't mean they're bad kids. In fact, I wouldn't trade one guy. And it doesn't mean they're not smart kids. Greatest semester we've had. It's just alpha dog is something that you develop through your first 18 years. I didn't change Mateen Cleaves. His mama took care of that. She didn't worry about who was at school. She took care of that. I didn't change Draymond Green. I didn't make Travis Walton. I didn't make Denzel Valentine a good leader. His daddy took care of that. So sometimes, as we move forward here, I think everybody would agree that there's less leaders, softer countries. So we gotta do some things about that, and I'm gonna try to take that on. So point the finger at me. You're not pointing at any of them. I appreciate the question.
No problem, Tom. Thanks.
We'll go next to Matt Charbonneau.
Tom, obviously you'll need a little more, you rely on Rock or Foster a little bit more right now, but you mentioned how Rocket didn't have the spring, summer, all that stuff to develop as a point guard. When we look to a guy like AJ, who's, obviously a freshman, he hasn't had that time either and had the couple weeks out. How much more are you going to be able to use him right now? And is it even tougher for him being a freshman in that role?
No, because like Rocket grew up shooting, AJ grew up a point guard. And we didn't use him early because we were getting the weight down, which we've accomplished. We were getting the injury, which it's behind us now. I mean, he is going to step up in a role, but he has a feel for those things. I mean, he has some other things he doesn't do as well as either one of them, but he has a feel for running a team because that's what he's done. He was recruited as a point guard and he could play multiple positions. He played some 2 guard. He was kind of like, he's more like a Denzel, but his thought process, one of my assistants said it best, the ball comes off his hands real soft. That's an NFL thing. They talk about those quarterbacks that throw a ball that's real catchable, and he just has a feel. So I think he is going to help us more, and we'll do that. Hopefully get Rock. I mean, I'm not done with Rocket at the point. I just realize it's me that's not being fair to him. It's not him that's not being fair to me. He's trying to do everything we asked, and he did it in some games, and he didn't do it as well in some games. But I know what he did well last year, and shame on me for trying to change that. And yet I say that, I don't blame me. You do what you got to do with the circumstance you're on. We had a point guard committed that changed his mind. That kind of threw off some things. Rocket's ready to do whatever I want. And the last 2 days, he's been in here at 6:30 in the morning working on his shot. So I'm actually more pleased with Rocket than I've ever been. And but having to think the game, take shots, and play good defense, isn't what he signed up for last year. I'm trying to groom him into that without any April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. And I just realized that wasn't fair. Called him in and told him that. And I feel comfortable where we are on that.
Time for a couple more questions. We'll go back to Chris Solari.
You kind of pointed something out there in terms of Rocket was a shooter growing up. Is that when you make a transition like that, and it's not just Rocket, but other guys trying to move him around at this level? I mean, how much goes into coaching? How much goes into the psychology of getting them to that point to think and understand that they can do that? And how much in their minds is dependent on knowing that they have the skill set to do it?
Well, I think the most of it is knowing they have the time to see it happen. I think a lot of guys, Rocket Watts has the skill set to be that, but it's like Denzel Valentine. I mean, I think in high school, as good as he was the third leading scorer on his team. They had, of course, Brent Forbes, and the other kid that went to Iowa was actually a point guard, but kind of the mentality of Denzel, he just always had point guard skills. That's what he did. When Denzel was here, we laughed about it. We looked at it. Rockets average more shots a game right now than Denzel did after a year and a half. Not even close. And I think his senior year, he had 13-8 or 14 shots a game when he was this all everything, could pass it to himself, catch it, and shoot it to himself. That's why he was an MVP guy. But I think, practice is what's important. And, all summer, we didn't scrimmage one day. We weren't allowed to in our state. It was all some individual work. You don't learn how to make decisions with individual work. We couldn't have team meetings up in the locker room, in the film room. We couldn't watch film and video. There were some things that took away that hindered different people's development. I think trying for Tom Izzo to try to make a shooter into a point guard, that's a big factor. And so, hey, I too blamed Rocket some until I woke up one night and said, how stupid are you? And I always tell my players, look in a mirror. I looked in the same mirror. I saw an idiot. And so I decided to change some of that. But he still has some skills that can do that. He just needs the time and what's the word? Reps at doing it. You don't get those when the season starts. And so, I'm not making this a big a deal. Will he still play some? Sure. But I'm going to try to get him in his comfort level, which is going to be better for us because he not only could score it, but I think he could really defend. Now he's thinking about everything. He's not even been as good defensively. And that's, I felt so good about Rocket this last week, even up there, just because of the way he's handled things and the way he's, I think, learning to, I got to work on these things now. They all came natural.
As a quick follow with that, I know in the past I'm thinking like 2-3 years ago, you experimented a little bit with Josh at the one. Is that a situation that could come up at some point?
Well, it could, but just think to yourself right now. I'm just trying to get Josh to, put the 2 years behind him. And like he said to me the other night, I thought Josh played one of the worst I've seen him up in Minnesota because he wasn't good defensively and things like that. And he's got a lot on his plate, and he, in a meeting, one of the things he said to me, I just want to forget about the 2 years now, not worried about the injury anymore and move forward. Well, hard to throw another thing on his plate. So we're going to work through this, but it isn't going to be a smooth process because I do think we've got some things that Foster can improve on. I do think he's improved defensively a lot. I do think we can improve some things with AJ a lot, because more than Foster or Rocket. Remember now, Foster averaged 38 points a game or 35 points a game in high school. And passing wasn't his first thing either. I have two very scoring guards, and Foster has more of it because he's smaller. You just assume that, but AJ has a very good feel for the game, and hopefully we can bring him along quicker too. Josh, right now, I just don't want to mess with those shooters. And if I do, I could slow the game down at points and make them that kind, go to 2-guard front. That's possible. Just don't want to do that right now.
Go next to Kyle Austin.
Tom, you guys' free throw rate has been pretty low through these first 3 Big Ten games. Wonder kind of where getting to the line is on your list of priorities offensively, and can that kind of unlock things a little bit when you have nights like you had the other night shooting the ball?
200%. Couldn't agree more. That's one of the points of emphasis for the last 3 weeks. Aaron Henry, got to get to the line more. Said that as the start of the year. First couple games he did, got away from that. We're starting to throw the ball inside a little bit more. We're still feeling more comfortable with our post guys. Got to get to the line. Rockets got to get to the line a little more. Shooting 85% from the free throw line. No question about it. Joey Hauser's got to get to the line. He's a very good free throw shooter. So, and that does stop the bleeding sometimes. I don't think there's any question about that, and could really help us. So, it's, as we say all the time, this isn't brain surgery, and what you're seeing is but sometimes you need a guy to put guys in a position to do that. And that's, that's going to be critical as we move forward. Missing layups, getting fouled. We thought we were fouling too much. That was a big point of emphasis going into the Minnesota game. And I've heard some people, talk to me about how can you be so positive about the defense at Minnesota? Well, what we wanted to do, we did. They scored on some layups, not off many turnovers. We didn't want to turn the ball over. We did. We contested the 3. We did. They took advantage of, in my mind, the most poor shots one of my teams have shot in the last 7-8 years. We took some bad shots, and that caused breakout layups and things like that. So if we play as good a defense, keep our turnovers down, get to the free throw line a little more. We had more free throws than Minnesota, and they lead the nation in it. But then not take the bad shots. And we got 70 shots up. That was great. We thought we had some good shots, that we made bad shots. And we're gonna correct those things. I mean, they're gonna get better. But that's true.
We'll go last question to Nick Mantis.
Coach, last game and over the last couple of days, we've been hearing about your guys' ability to work the ball down low and kind of let the big guys eat a little bit more. Is that going to be a theme or a mindset going into, as you guys play some more Big Ten teams moving forward?
Well, I think a little bit. I don't think it's going to be a mindset like it was with Xavier or Nick Ward, because I don't think we're there yet. But I think the balance of it, and we have the ability to post guys like Aaron. I mean, he's still got to be our focal point. He's got to score well. We think knocking off a few layups that he's missed and this and that. And by the way, how come every other media guy is looking like I'm used to see a media guy, with a hat on, beard, looking kind of gruffy and not really presentable, and you come with this GQ crap? I mean, how come we got that going on here?
But you really don't want to see me right now. That's the reason.
Oh, okay. All right. I just wondered. But in all fairness, we didn't think we'd be as good in the post scoring early in the year. And then we started realizing that we think we can get it in there more. Kittier's improved. I think Monty's making big improvements. I think Julius is going to improve. we're getting a lot out of. The guy that's playing pretty solid that we don't talk about is Malik Hall. If you look at his rebounding, his scoring, if you look at his percentages, he's playing really well. I think the other negative is we got to get Joey Hauser more shots. He's getting 7. If Aaron can get 12, 13, he's at about 11 something. And they got to be better shots, and that's what we're working on with Rock. They got to be good shots. And Aaron doesn't take any bad shots. I thought up at Minnesota, Josh had a few bad shots, and those bad shots lead to things. So what I would like to use the inside guys feeding the outside guys some, because the inside out threes are better. But I think we'll get more scoring inside. I think we'll go inside more. I think we'll have a little more balance. And I think, I think we're going to start playing better. I really do. So we're going to have to. I know it's New Year's Eve today, so you guys make sure you behave yourselves, take care of yourselves. And I hope that this is going to be a good time for us to have some New Year's resolutions as a team, some different dreams and goals we'll look at. I hope you guys have them. And I hope for all of us, 2021 is a smoother, get rid of this pandemic. Thank God we're getting some vaccines, and get this basketball team back, and then maybe getting fans in the stands back. I think that's going to be, would be important too. And I think that's hurt us a little bit. I mean, we do have a tremendous home court advantage. We have started out with, we're going to be 3 of our first 4 games have been on the road. And just because there's no fans in the stands, being on the road is on the road. So not been an easy stretch for us, but you got to love that the league's as good as it is. And we're going to find a way to make sure we're competing in this league like Michigan State teams have in the past and will in the future. So have a happy new year to all of you. And come back next week. We're going to be talking about better things. Thanks.
Thanks, Coach.
Coach.
We'll be back with players shortly. We are joined now by Aaron Henry, and we should have Joey Hauser up shortly after. If you could please direct questions to the chat, that would be appreciated. And first question will go to Lindsey Huddleston.
Hey, Aaron, how you doing? Coach shared that you guys had just a film session instead of a practice the other day. That was a shock to us. Was that a surprise to you? Did you expect to have one of those rough and tumble practices, but instead you were sitting in the film room?
Not surprising. I feel like just how the season has went, being a junior now, I feel like I've been through a couple of things with Coach Izzo and kind of know what a certain loss looks like in the next day. In that film session, we got a lot out of it. I feel like, we learned a lot, saw a lot, a lot of places we can get better at, develop at, and hopefully move forward with.
Yeah, and quick follow up. When we last talked, you were going back to watch the Wisconsin film on Christmas Day. How have you kind of worked through that yourself? You were a little down. How did you get yourself back up on it and kind of back into things?
Just knowing that everything's a process. Nothing good comes overnight, and just understanding that you can't hit the panic button no matter how bad it's going or even how good it's going. And you have to stay even keeled and keep that neutral mindset because you'll go crazy if you don't. You can't be too up and down and understand that life is full of ups and downs and sore seasons. But to keep that mindset of it, we just got to keep working, keep our heads down, and win or lose, we got to just go back to the drawing board and get better.
Great advice for 2021. Happy New Year, man. Thanks.
Thank you.
We'll go next to Chris Solari.
Hey, Aaron, happy New Year. Wondered when you guys did go back and watch that film, what things did you see beyond just the missed shots that need to be corrected in a hurry?
Our break, our spacing, just we're just not playing Michigan State basketball. The staples that we've built ourselves on as far as running, rebounding, and defending. We have to get back to that and understand that we need certain guys to do certain things, but I feel like it starts with me. My play has to be better and have to do certain things better on both ends of the floor. And, it'll all come together. I feel like it's a process, like I said earlier, but, it's time to go.
From a defensive standpoint, what things do you feel like you guys need to improve on?
I felt like in the Minnesota game in the half court, we played pretty solid defense. We missed a few mistakes, and that's gonna happen in every game. But as far as the total half court defense, it was there. Now we can't have turnovers and bad shot selection that lead out to breakouts and then layups for the other team that they can just score so easily on. I mean, that's what I feel like we need to do, like on offense to help our defense. But other than that, in the half court, I felt like we took steps in the right direction.
We'll go next to Matt Charbonneau from the Detroit News.
Aaron, Tom's talking about getting to the line more, making it a priority to get to the line, especially yourself. What can you do, or what do you see that you can do in these games to be able to give you a chance to get to the free throw line a little bit more often?
Attack more on the break, on the half court. Just not be passive. Just get there and draw contact and get to the line. I feel like I'm shooting a great percentage from there. Not great, but I mean a decent percentage, and something that I feel like our team could use, and other guys can do it as well. Rocket, Josh, AJ, Foster, Joey shoots good from there, and we just got to put the pieces together and get there.
Could that become a priority, especially when you have a game like Minnesota where the shots aren't going? Do you feel like you guys settled a little bit for some of those jumpers as opposed to being aggressive and attacking the basket?
In a way, some shots were good, some shots were bad. Some shots that were good shots we made bad just by how we took them and the timing, and sometimes they were rushed. But it's something that we saw on film for sure, and in the last day or two, we kind of tried to iron out.
Thanks.
We'll go next to Kyle Austin.
Aaron, you've been through 3-game losing streaks in the Big Ten, both of your previous years here. Wondering what you take kind of from those games. Both those times you're able to kind of get out of it and get back rolling again. What did you kind of take from those previous experiences?
Yeah, just not to panic. I've been there before, and knowing that as a leader now instead of being a role player, I've gained that experience on how to respond to those type of things. I feel like, and it'll be good for us to understand where we were now, and hopefully in the future how far we've came.
If there are no further questions for Aaron, we will thank him for his time. Seeing none in the chat, we're going to say thank you, Aaron. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, guys.
And Joey Hauser will be up shortly. We are joined now by Joey Hauser. And if I am correct, the first question here, once Joey is up, looks like it's from Nick Mantis. We'll go to Nick Mantis first.
Hey, Joey, happy New Year to you. First and foremost, we wanted to kind of go back to Coach was mentioning in the last couple of games about trying to get you and a couple of other big guys a little bit more action down low. What's it been like for you guys the last couple of days when it comes to watching film and talking with position coaches and with head coach Tom Izzo about trying to see what ways you guys can attack them offensively?
I think first and foremost, we just got to get better shots. It's not like guys were making necessarily bad decisions on the shots they were taking. It's just that we got to do a better job getting our offense flowing, getting guys moving more. And throwing the ball in the post is going to help out a lot of different people. And there's going to be opportunities for us to kick that ball back out to the wings and get them shots or score the ball. So throwing in the post is going to be a huge part of our game, and being able to go inside out is also really important.
Thank you.
We'll go next to Chris Solari from the Detroit Free Press.
Hey, Joey, Happy New Year. I wondered, when you come out of a shooting performance like that, particularly the early part of that game when you guys were struggling so much, how do you kind of do a mind refresh to move on from it?
I think you got to study the film. It's hard to kind of not. It's kind of just forget about it. You got to study the film and watch what you were doing and what needs to be fixed in terms of just shooting the ball. Guys got to get in the gym, keep working on their shot. I know a lot of our guys get tons of shots up, and maybe it'd be getting a little bit less shots up or getting game speed shots up. So there's a couple things you got to tweak and kind of change and take a look at just to get better shots and then make some shots.
You always hear about, shooting can be contagious for the guys around you. Can missing be contagious the other way too?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think for sure. Especially when the ball's not moving as well. And I don't think it was moving quite the way we wanted to. And that's why we spent a lot of time watching film on our offense and then working on it these past couple of days to really improve and get better shots and make it contagious in a good way.
Go next to Lindsey Huddleston.
Hey, Joey, I know the last few weeks have been rough for the program, but can you talk about how you having to sit out last year has helped you cope with that? I would imagine that was rougher sitting out a year compared to these last few weeks, but can you talk about what one has helped you with the other?
Yeah, I think just kind of reminding myself the position I was in a year ago has been something that's helped me look at the bright side of things. Even though it's been a struggle doing this whole kind of different season that we're having, no summer really to work out with our team and kind of being in our own bubble pretty much. And you throw that on top of with 3 losses in a row, start off the Big Ten here. It's definitely a struggle, but there's a lot worse things going on in the world right now. So in the big picture, this is just basketball. It's just a game, and it's something that we all love and we're going to have fun doing. So we're going to continue to work and get better at it and know that we're in a really good position where we're at, being here at Michigan State. We're really privileged to be doing what we're doing.
Great, good. Great outlook. Thank you.
No problem.
We'll go next to Kyle Austin.
Joey, I'm wondering how much you feel like home court advantage exists so far this season. Because obviously there's no fans, but do you feel like it's still tougher to win on the road than at home?
Yeah, I think it is. I think part of it's just comfortability, being able to do your own game day routine where you are, wherever your school is definitely helpful. The fans does play a little bit of a factor. There's no really hostile environments, but still kind of when you're going on the road, you're kind of throwing off your game day routines a little bit.
And then we'll go back to Chris Solari from the Detroit Free Press.
You made a little bit of a mention to this, but you guys have been on campus since June, right? I mean,
yeah.
we talked a lot about this with the guys in football, but you guys obviously still have a couple months to go. How do you avoid making that? And that's got to be a mental challenge in and of itself, but how do you avoid maybe falling into the doldrums that might come with being in one place for so long?
Yeah, it's been really hard. I can't lie. It was good to somewhat see our families for Christmas. They were able We had a couple of tickets for each player during our Christmas Day game, so that was awesome. That was really a refreshing time. So I think the biggest thing is just kind of, like you said, you're kind of stuck in one spot, but we'd be here anyways, even if it wasn't during this pandemic. The one thing that gets tough is if you have a rough practice or kind of a rough stretch, sometimes you just want to maybe go out and get some pizza with the guys or go to a movie, just kind of get away from basketball. And that's kind of been the hardest thing, I think, dealing with this whole situation right now, is just not being able to really get away from basketball. Every day it's basketball, it's basketball, it's basketball. So we got to stick together. Our coaches have done a great job of that, trying to get us to maybe do some activities that we can, do. It kind of depends just on the, the guidelines and stuff like that. But yeah, it is hard, but we're going to get through it. And, we're in the Big Ten season right now, so we have a ton to play for. Just got to remind yourself of that.
And then we'll go back to Matt Charbonneau to wrap it up.
Joey, Aaron talked about this a little bit, but when you find yourself in a 3-game losing streak like this, is it hard to not kind of wallow in that a little bit? And how do you keep yourself from doing that? How do you turn it around to, to make that have the right mindset to kind of stop that losing streak?
You just got to focus on next play. We lost 3 games in a row, and it happened. We can't have a pity party about it. We just got to focus on next game and keep reminding ourselves of that and pick everybody up. When there's a mistake made, tell the guy next play. Don't focus on what had happened. Just focus on what you can control and what's going to happen in the future.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
Joey, thanks so much for taking the time.
No
Happy
problem.
New Year.
Yep. Thank you.
And everyone, thanks for coming. My best wishes to all you for tonight and for Happy New Year.
Have a
Same
good
to you, Max.
Thanks, Max. And to you,
Thank you,
buddy.
Max.
Thanks,
have a
everybody.
happy mini beer.
Don't walk 2.5 miles to find a beer tonight, pal.
Well, I've already scouted it out and I have places set. And I called them up last night and I know they're open till 11 tomorrow.
That's
Put a
easy.
planner.
You got a problem, pal. Your wife is right.
Hey, like I said, the only problem is I like a good beer. See you, everybody.